It's dawn in central China, and the child acrobats of the New Art Circus troupe are on their training run. These are peasant children sent to the troupe from the surrounding villages in the hope of making a better life for themselves. Aged between 6 and 16, they live with the troupe for 5 months a year, learning circus skills and touring the country. The young apprentices gather in a field for basic training under the tuition of Mr. Jiang. Many of them will not make it because they're unable to endure hardship or feel tired of training. Right at the beginning, I told their parents my way of teaching. Tuition is free and I won't collect other fees, but my apprentices must work for our acrobatic troupe. Nobody can just say no and go away. That's utterly unreasonable. You learn everything from me and then go and work for another troupe? I won't allow this kind of thing. When my apprentices grow up and are able to give performances, I'll keep my share of the money. If Mr. Jiang's words sound harsh, they reflect the uncertainties faced by acrobats in the new economic climate sweeping China. "50 kilometers from Mr. Jiang's village, the provincial city of Wuchao is also awakening. China's traditional center of acrobatics, Wuchao boasts the only independent acrobatic school. Leaving home at 6 years old, the children live here until they're 12, hoping they'll be selected by one of the major national troupes. For those who succeed, the future promises escape to the city and financial rewards. For those left behind, there remains the hardship and drudgery of rural peasant life." With so much at stake, the rigours of training are perhaps easier to bear. Overseeing the students is Fang Yun, Mr. Jiang's son. Himself an accomplished acrobat, he became disillusioned with the big city troupe for whom he worked. At that time, I practiced harder than the others. When they were taking a siesta, I sneaked into the big training hall through the window and practiced somersaults or cycling because I wanted to accomplish something the others couldn't and win their special respect. Fang Yun went on to become one of the best acrobats in his troupe, but in the late 1980s, China adopted new economic imperatives and everything changed. People in the troupe were influenced by the trend of doing business and gave up the pursuit of their own profession. To them, the main goal was economic profit. The leaders, how to say it, they put all energy into seizing power or grabbing profits and were not very serious about the professional training. When it was time for work, people came to check in, have a chat, and then left for their own business. The big training hall was left empty. I felt very empty inside too. It seemed that I couldn't fulfill myself if I had any ambition. While Fang Yun was struggling with the social changes sweeping the country, his father was fulfilling his duties as a member of the People's Legislative Assembly. A vast body of elected members, it confirmed Mr. Jiang's status as a community leader. His circus flourished and he was able to build the biggest house in the village. But his success was the result of much work and hardship, as his wife explains.
My
husband practiced his skills very hard. He was a school teacher then, but he did acrobatic exercises every morning before going to school. Because we were very poor, he gave his students haircuts at weekends to earn some extra money. Later, when our children were old enough to learn acrobatics, he began teaching them. When our son was 13, my husband and his youngest brother led their apprentices to another village to give a free performance. That was a good advertisement. When the apprentices were able to perform some routines, he formed a troupe and quit teaching. The troupe, led by him, went out to put on shows and earn money. The basic skills of acrobatics are the physical strength of the waist, the legs and the head. When they have mastered the basic skills, I'll decide their roles according to their appearance. In order to look after those who have not grown up yet, we specially employ some middle-aged women. These women take care of the children's daily life. There are some children who can't look after themselves. Some even wet the bed. At the Acrobats school, 7-year-old Li Bao is waiting for her parents. It's Sunday, the day they usually visit, but she hasn't seen them for 3 weeks. Her parents bring her gifts of fruit and clothes, all they can afford after paying the fees of the school. It's a major sacrifice for both them and their daughter, but they have high hopes. If she wins a golden award, it will be good for the school, the country, her parents, for everybody. We have a relative who works in the provincial acrobatic troupe. We feel he has a good job. All in all, for the next generation, it's our thought that if they're well trained, they don't have to work in the fields any longer. Parents know the kids bear lots of hardship in training and they're homesick, but it's for their future. If there's bitterness now, there will be sweetness in future. Without pain, how can she obtain her skill? When the sweetness finally arrives, she can be better off than her parents. The visiting mothers wash their children's clothes at the school tap while they catch up with the local gossip. Li Bao stands with her mother, savouring this brief reminder of family life. In a few hours, her parents will return to their village, and Li Bao will resume her training as a contortionist with her teacher Li Shuiliang. She has good physical qualities, but she still has a long way to go to reach the goals I've set for her. The training goes like this. Exercise her legs first to train the muscle. When she doesn't feel pain any longer and can lift her legs by herself, let her practice step by step. You have to be careful not to break her. Train her and protect her. If she's hurt, she'll feel terrible and the process will be slowed down. You shouldn't be impatient in training, like eating rice bit by bit. As Li Bao trains to perfection, with her parents' sights set firmly on national stardom, the young apprentices of Mr. Jiang's circus troupe have more modest goals. In a week's time they will be setting off on tour, and every member of the troupe, no matter how young, must pull their weight. For Mr. Jiang, himself a competent performer, there is a constant tension between his artistic aspirations and making a living. Though he loves these children as his own, they are part of a working troupe and must be up to scratch. Despite the informal atmosphere, Mr. Jiang's teaching is based on the same principles employed at the Acrobats school. Among his colleagues in the numerous peasant circuses of the region, Mr. Jiang is revered as the troupe leader who has raised artistic standards and trained a string of successful acrobats. Foot juggling is a traditional peasant skill, and Mr. Jiang's eldest daughter has built a career in America performing this routine. Now 14-year-old Mai Ling and 7-year-old Li Zhang, girls from neighbouring villages, are following in her footsteps. As the leader of a touring peasant circus, Mr. Jiang must focus on acts which are popular with his audience in far-flung provincial towns. But in the pecking order of the acrobatic arts, circuses rate fairly low. For his son, Fang Yuan, acrobatics is an art form to be explored rather than a business to be exploited, and he draws a line between what he calls his father's amateur troupe and the acrobat school. The main task of an amateur troupe is to perform and gain profits. Its profession and ours are totally two different things. Its concern is economy, and ours is teaching. So I think the school is a good place for a career. I could offer some help to my aging father to manage the troupe. I could show my filial piety to my father and gain more money. But I feel I have a greater career if I choose to work at the acrobat school. That's why I chose the school rather than the circus troupe. With the morning's training session over, breakfast steamed rolls have been prepared in the school's kitchen. The food is basic but sustaining, and for most of the students, at least as good as they would have had at home. For these children, to be training for a career beyond the fields is a privilege which far outweighs the hardship and isolation from their families. As well as training in acrobatics, the school provides an education which many of the children would have missed in their villages, despite the official policy of schooling for all. In the Jiang family courtyard, Iran, the youngest daughter, prepares to wash her hair. Trained in acrobatics like her brother and sisters, at 20 years old, she's seen more of the world than most Chinese ever do. But now she has ideas of her own and modern attitudes at odds with those of her parents. She wants a career outside of acrobatics. I was born in this family, which meant I do this by fate. I did it until 16 when I joined the army. The Shijiazhuang military region came here for acrobat soldiers. I was accepted and became a soldier for 3 years, studying, practicing and performing. I learnt a lot during the 3 years, a lot. The army broadened her horizons and led her to question her inherited career. She stopped practicing and began dreaming about remaining in the city. Meanwhile, her eldest sister, a highly successful acrobat, had gone to work in America. To my surprise, my father rang me from the USA and asked me to go and perform there. After I was demobilized, I went directly to the USA and performed for a year. It was okay at the beginning, but life was boring when I got used to performing day after day like a robot. After a year in the USA, Iran realized the life of the acrobat was not for her, and she didn't have the talents of her sister. I'm not as capable as she is, so I don't hope to be that good. I haven't practiced to that extent and don't have the determination. It's too hard. I just want to learn something else which is better than this. As Iran dreams of a life without acrobatics, the older students at the Acrobats school are refining their art. Their teacher, Zhao Chonto, is a third-generation acrobat whose father travelled internationally and knew Charlie Chaplin. I've learnt much from my father. There weren't schools at that time. Kids learnt acrobatics at the troops. To bring out a good performer, the teacher was very strict with his students, and especially with his own kids. In the past, they believed no sticks, no success. The atmosphere was tense. You might be knocked senseless by an unexpected slap across the face. We feel that it's not a good solution to beat students. What concerns us now is how to keep the kids' spirits up, to encourage them and help them progress light-heartedly.
We found
that students from the countryside, especially those from Wuchao, can bear hardship. 2/3 come from families who know something about acrobatics. This makes the kids willing to do it. On the other hand, we find city kids can't do it. City kids are pampered. They take buses when they go out. They want ice cream or chocolate. They feel life is too hard and training too painful. City kids are not suited to it. Despite her country upbringing, Iran is a city kid at heart, waiting with increasing anxiety for the start of the next circus tour. She spends all her money on glamorous photographs of herself and dreams of life as a fashion designer in a big city far away. My ambition is not to have to deal with the fields all my life and leave here for the outside world. I love it here because I was born and grew up here, but I still want to get out. Touring around here and there day and night, working in the fields after coming back, my thoughts are different. I don't want to be like my elder sisters, doing this and getting married. Of course I want to do something. How can I support myself if I don't do anything? I need to find a way to earn money. At the acrobatics school, the children are gathering in the big hall for a student performance. 12-year-old Yu Yongsheng and his partner, 10-year-old Li Mingming, have been learning this routine for over a year. For these children, the hard work is paying off, and they've already travelled overseas. I've been to Korea for performances. The audience liked me and sent me flowers. I had fun on the plane. I wasn't nervous when we performed. It was very successful. The audience encouraged us. As successful students of the acrobatic school, Lu and Li have already been selected by a major provincial troupe. The acrobatic troupe in Shijiazhuang came and chose us. After graduation, we'll go to perform all over China and in foreign countries. Practicing 3 or 4 hours a day puts considerable pressure on Lu's neck, but his teacher has an innovative way of reducing the damage. Some of the students who are less successful than Lu find their way into a peasant troupe like Mr. Jiang's, but Lu is pleased to have avoided that fate. I feel it's not very good to be in a peasant troupe. I think the private troupes are no good. For Iran, born into a peasant troupe, loyalty conflicts with the desire for broader horizons. But for now she has to participate in the upcoming tour, and her father has a problem with the circus hands. For Madame Jiang, these are difficult times. With her husband worrying about the tour and her daughter wanting to spread her wings, all she can do is provide for their comfort and trust it'll turn out for the best. She says she wants to leave, but her father hasn't agreed. She only thinks about her appearance. She's so different from her father. When he was her age, all he thought about was how to be better. That's why he's so famous. When the troupe leaves for other parts of the country, they'll certainly miss us. We'll miss them too. In the daytime I'm very busy and I don't think about them, but at night I miss them. I'll have several sleepless nights. That's the way of old folks, always thinking about them. I keep persuading our children to look after their father, who has gone through so many difficulties. We should make him happy. I always think about him. Every time the children ring me, I tell them to love their father, take care of him. He's getting old now, and that's not an easy job for him. I can't stop worrying about them.
那天，那就开始出家出去了。这会儿啊，到那儿妈呀，你得克服这一个个困难。咱都把这今年夏天的这个演出任务完成了。到那一定不怕苦，啊，你夏天的反正白天炎热，晚上呢蚊子虫子咬点。俺然呢有个想法，这个我也知道，是吧？怕受苦，怕受罪。演完了这一会儿啊，是吧？咱再说，回来咱看怎么办？咱安排别的。
It's morning on the day of the tour and the trucks have arrived at last. It's a 24-hour drive to the first venue and everything must be secure, especially the horse. In another part of the village, a larger truck is being loaded with the heavy steel structure of the circus tent. Everybody helps to pack the trucks whether they're going on tour or not. The activity helps to mask the anxieties they're all feeling about the months ahead. Suddenly, village life doesn't seem so bad after all. Madame Jiang leads the women in a Buddhist good luck ceremony. Lighting incense and ceremonial paper, the women pray for prosperity and safety in the months ahead. For the men, it's a good excuse to let off some fireworks. It's time to go. Iran, the boss's daughter, claims the relative comfort of the front seat. The rest of the acrobats and road crew will travel on the other, larger truck, which they'll meet on the road out of the village. While the New Art circus troupe sets off around China, back home the county of Wuchao is trying to attract tourists. Just across the fields from the acrobatic school is the Wuchao Acrobat World, a newly built theme park modelled on a Qing Dynasty walled city.
欢迎各位来宾、各位游客光临我们武桥杂技大世界。传统的民间节目小顺白书，原为北京天桥八大怪之一，已经失传的节目了。各位看了吗？这是货真价实的小白鼠。这位就是刘全进瓜，被唐王留下赵为了驸马。各位看了吗？这就是刘全进瓜，赵为驸马，享不尽的荣华富贵。
Wuchao Acrobatic World features one of the few remaining exponents of Singing Western Views, a hand-painted peep show which used to tour the provinces 100 years ago. The children on the circus trucks are not having such a good time. By the end of the first night, the little cavalcade has reached the foothills of the Taihang Shan Mountains. These form a natural border between the plains of central China, the Middle Kingdom of ancient times, and the barbaric lands to the north. For the circus troupe too, this divide represents a crossing over into unfamiliar territory far from home. On the far side of the mountains is the city of Laiyuan. Graced with a 1,000-year-old pagoda and temple, this ancient settlement was known for its culture and beautiful surroundings. Now the modern city is burying its villages and monuments beneath steel and concrete. Beneath the arches of the traditional city gate, a market and fairground has been established. Layuan is a centre for ironworking, and stalls sell farming and kitchen implements to the visiting peasants. At the end of their long journey across the mountains, the New Art Circus troupe drives through the city gate to set up their tents in the fairground. But in the open space beneath the pagoda, a surprise is awaiting them. 2 other circus troupes from Wuchao have beaten them to it and have earmarked their space for the big top. With 36 troupes touring the country, this was bound to happen sooner or later, and Mr. Jiang seeks out the other troop leaders to thrash out a compromise.
全这样拿起来，这样了，这他搁来，这全这样，全这样，搁来，俺就是玩呀，武桥杂役之乡是团多，但是10月18吧这个会呀是少，那我们就是联合去演出算了。
咱一块儿就扎一个棚，堆在一块儿，行，咱总按变成办法以后，这种书比较手大。
不，
一些事情
这是啊，
变成书看着
我这俺，
哎，
你看来这
我叫
你来在这了，是吧？我这上里关去，我一待我这养烟去，那烟就烦了个劲。
你养烟不要紧，你还有事
大事吧？我出这小事，我这就我叫小二了。你他你不出我就他吧，你们看着安排。
Having agreed to form a joint circus, the troupes erect Mr. Jiang's tent, the biggest they have. Apart from sharing the performance space and the hoped-for profits, each troupe will make its own living arrangements, competing for space among the burgeoning sideshows. Back home in Wuchao's acrobatic world, the accommodation is more permanent. Laid out like a walled city, each family occupies a courtyard house into which they invite tourists for a show. Despite the phenomenal growth in China's economy, there are few middle-class tourists able to spend money on leisure pursuits, and the pickings are thin. In the fairground at Layuan, blacksmiths ply their trade amid the sideshows which are setting up all around. Having erected the big top, the acrobats of the combined Wuchao troupes are attending to their domestic arrangements. It's a very public existence, and the acrobats will have little privacy for the duration of the tour. Their leaders have slightly better accommodation in an inn close by, but their privacy is invaded by a young official. He wants them to report to the tax office.
报完报什么？
你们打宴席时，打那个文化娱乐业这个宴席章，你们票上不是都必须有那个？
咱没有。
也不交税。
交不要管理费，工商管理费。
工商管理费，地方税务局。
你们大会成立是不是一个统一组织？大会筹委会
都有一个组织，都在那边，都在城管事务所统一办理。
哦，你行，俺下午
下午去一下啊。
行。
Oblivious to the tax difficulties of their leaders, Iran and the other girls chat about the people from this part of China. They're brought back to reality by the call to a rehearsal of the grand circus parade. While the circus prepares for its first performance, the other attractions in the fairground are already doing business. Catering for the popular Chinese fascination with the bizarre, a number of freak shows lure the gullible and the curious. Featuring dried farmland mutants and human embryos purchased from local hospitals, it's mainly little boys who stop and stare. Nearby, an armless man demonstrates his skill on the wall of death. Freakish human skills and a hint of magic lie behind much of Chinese acrobatics. And at the Wuchao Acrobatic World, much space is devoted to these arcane practices. Peasant exponents of Qigong, a blend of martial arts and magic, demonstrate masochistic feats which challenge the audience's credulity as well as its stomach. In Lai Yuan, the young acrobats help prepare beans for dinner. It's a communal task and an important one, because food is often the only pay they can expect from a tour. For Iran, the boss's daughter, such group activities are something to avoid as she drifts farther away from the circus and peasant life. I stayed in the army for 3 years and really fitted in with city life. Friends and army comrades from the city are so interesting. I visited their homes. I envy them. The major thing is money. I just want to make money myself. As the troupe eat their last meal before tomorrow's performance, the need to earn money weighs heavily on Mr. Jiang. For him, the burden of leadership is increased by worries for his daughter. For Madame Jiang, a long vigil is just beginning. Yes, I'm superstitious, always wishing that all goes well with the adults and kids outside. If there's rain, cold or snow, damn it, they'll suffer terribly. Then I can't go to sleep at all. Contemplating the next day's performances, the troop leaders burn the midnight oil. As ever, the discussion centres on the difficulties of making a living as a Wu Chao acrobatic troupe.
就是本身一个好戏，是吧？好戏，他好戏这个东西，就是你可赔点钱，他愿意嘛。
你说我就别说了，我就一天不想干。我就说，甚至我现在说，我就一天不想干。
是吧？你不干这行，改行改不了。是吧？现在这摊子这个底子破下来，你说现在花10万块支这个摊子，你现在卖你3万2万的，没人要，谁要这行？是吧？就废铁。
It's the morning of the first performance and the troop leaders have a new concern. Disco tents have set up on each side of the circus and the provocative gyrations of the go-go dancers are attracting a lot of attention. It's the latest sensation of the fairground circuit and troop leader Chen is very nervous. The circus band and dancers are doing their best to compete with the sexy young things displaying on either side. Mr. Chen and Mr. Sun need a more powerful attraction. Mr. Sun's tiger seems to do the trick, and the crowds gather round, but most of them are still reluctant to part with their money. When tickets do start to sell, it's mainly the elderly who are buying. The new economic freedom sweeping China has opened the market for new entertainments and turned the focus onto youth culture. Even in provincial cities like Laiyuan, circus and the acrobatic arts are losing out to rock music and television. When the first performance of the combined Wu Chao circus troupes finally gets underway, the meagre audience are mostly over 40. In a final attempt to involve her in the show, Mr. Jiang has appointed his daughter Mistress of Ceremonies. Following the tradition of Mr. Jiang's eldest daughter, Kai Jing, another girl from the village, demonstrates the juggling of the big pot. Weighing 200 kilograms, the pot puts enormous pressure on her legs and hips and is lethal if she drops it. Liu Lijuan and Fan Xiaojun are two of Mr. Jiang's star pupils.
深度的谢谢。
Training for this act for 4 years, Liu Lijuan and Fan Xiaojun are now planning to leave the troupe and to begin independent careers. Iran, the Zhang troupe's reluctant member, takes her turn in the ring. She performs competently but without enthusiasm, her disillusion with circus life apparent in her face. It's the end of the first day of performance and the troupe leaders are reckoning up. It's not looking very good.
这是一千，这又是一千，打这一千，不对，3、4、7、12，你打错少打数。
那是乘法，这是除法。2380，4千380，
还得跑老虎，卖肉那钱。
分3进1，3、1、30。
老虎吃肉这钱大伙拿不得。你这跑老虎吃肉
，1400，
全了。就那票对了吧？这票对吧？票对。那从这咱就是总之合作挺愉快。
Iran is leaving the circus. Now the time has come, it's hard not to think what she'll be missing. She'd expected to stay till the end of the tour, but her father has decided otherwise. There is a problem with the permit for Inner Mongolia, the next place the troupe will be visiting, and Iran is to go and sort it out. It's not the real reason she's leaving, but it's a convenient excuse to save face.
我爸也不是说不是支持我，反正也不放心。
My father doesn't mean not to support me. He's just worried I'll be alone. He knows I can't bear hardship. He loves me and he's concerned that I can't put up with hard work. I have to do what he expects the others to do, otherwise they'll say that the daughter of the troupe's head can't bear hardship. Actually, it's not true that I can't bear hardship. I just need a break after working too long.
燕窝、南城、扫码仪方向的旅客。
For Mr. Zhang, his daughter's departure is another reminder that time is running out for the family circus. As China embraces the free enterprise system of the West, there's no holding back the social changes that go with it. For Mr. Jiang, there is no choice but to continue the traditions which have existed in his home county of Wuqiao for over 2,000 years.